The new price of survival in Hawaii cannot be ignored. Every aspect of daily life commands more money than families expect, and by 2025, the strain has intensified. Life here isn't about splurging on luxury, it's about managing the staggering cost of rent, groceries, childcare, utilities, and healthcare just to get by. For many residents, the challenge isn't chasing wealth. It's staying afloat in an economy where even the basics arrive marked up by distance, shipping, and scarcity. Reliable estimates underline how stark that challenge has become. On the mainland, a household earning between $70,000 and $80,000 a year is often considered middle class. In Hawaii, local studies estimate comfortable household budgets in many parts of the state are closer to $150,000 $180,000 a year. That income level simply allows a family to maintain steady housing, cover essentials, and save modestly for emergencies. For households earning far below that range, the effort to meet bills each month requires constant adjustments and sacrifices. The difficulty lies in the mismatch. Average wages in Hawaii lag behind national medians, while living costs are among the highest in the US, creating a deep squeeze. It's not unusual for a two-earner household to struggle despite both parents working full-time. The math simply doesn't balance. Paychecks land lower than national averages, but necessities climb higher. The result is a daily cycle of budgeting weighed down by trade-offs most mainland families rarely face. Take food, for example. A carton of eggs that costs $4 in California may climb to $10 on Oahu. Milk prices often reach the same level as gasoline. Meat, packaged food, and even produce spend thousands of miles traveling before hitting shelves, so the final price reflects every added cost along the way. Even foods grown in Hawaii don't always bring relief, because smaller farms contend with high labor, diesel, water, and supply costs. Multiply those numbers across household shopping trips, and a month's groceries can easily total several $100s more than what a family paid in states like Washington or Texas. Housing adds an even heavier layer of pressure. Renting a modest two-bedroom apartment in Honolulu can top $3,000 per month, with larger family units costing far more. For those who live outside urban centers, cheaper housing often comes with long commutes, adding fuel and time expenses. Utilities only increase the burden. Hawaii has some of the highest electricity rates in the nation, averaging around 39 cents per kilowatt hour in 2025, nearly double the US average. Because electricity has long depended on imported fuel, bills balloon far beyond mainland norms. Add in water, internet, and insurance costs tied to natural disaster risks, and fixed monthly expenses skyrocket. Insurance remains another hidden weight. Living on an island chain exposed to hurricanes, floods, and wildfires raises premiums for both renters and homeowners. Even modest rental insurance carries island-specific surcharges, while homeowners in fire-prone or storm-risk areas can face striking annual bills. For families already stretched thin, these policies aren't luxuries, they're requirements, and they take a portion of every paycheck. Childcare creates further shock. With staffing shortages and limited capacity, families compete for scarce slots, often paying daycare prices on par with private school tuition. Many parents find themselves spending as much on one infant's daycare as they would on rent. The burden pushes households to rely on grandparents, aunts, uncles, or shifting work schedules, with one parent sacrificing career progression to manage care from home. These arrangements keep families functioning, but at real cost to incomes and opportunities. Healthcare adds another layer. While Hawaii is known for high life expectancy and better health markers than most states, access to care tells a different story. Residents face long waits for appointments, restrictions on specialist availability, and higher premiums or out-of-pocket bills compared to the mainland. For many, affording both insurance payments and surprise medical needs is a juggling act. Some skip appointments or put off treatment, not because they want to, but because they simply cannot afford both the doctor and the rent. Stack these costs together, and a clear picture emerges. For an average household earning $70,000 or $80,000, expenses from rent, food, utilities, childcare, and health leave little cushion for savings or emergencies. Families cope by doubling up in housing, multiple generations in one home, or by patching together extra income streams. Parents pick up late shifts, gig work, or seasonal jobs, while extended relatives share space under one roof to lower rent payments. These solutions allow survival, but rarely ease the weight. The image of a relaxed island lifestyle turns quickly into a web of financial compromises. The reality is that only a small share of families make what researchers say is required for comfortable living. Most bring in well under the $150,000 $180,000 range, leaving them perpetually short. Vacations off-island become out of reach. Retirement savings stall. Even basic emergency funds erode under the weight of recurring bills. Put plainly, the islands have become a place where survival itself demands more than many residents reasonably earn. This economic squeeze is why so many describe Hawaii as paradise at a price, a line visitors rarely see in brochures. Residents love their culture, landscapes, and heritage, but are caught between a deep attachment to home and financial pressure that doesn't relent. The question many families face isn't whether they enjoy island life, it's whether they can continue to afford it over time. And nowhere does this tension show more vividly than in dreams of home ownership. For generations, buying a house in Hawaii has symbolized stability and success. That dream now collides with some of the starkest numbers in the country, leaving many families unable to imagine a future in the communities they grew up in. Housing market in crisis. The housing market in Hawaii has reached a breaking point, and by 2025, it represents one of the most urgent challenges facing residents. Home ownership, once considered a milestone of stability and belonging, is now slipping further and further out of reach. To live in the same neighborhoods as their parents or grandparents, families now face prices that climb well beyond typical earnings, creating a divide between aspiration and reality that grows wider every year. Statewide, the median single-family home price is in the mid-$800,000 range. On Oahu, where the majority of the state's population lives, single-family median prices have already risen past the $1 million mark, topping about $1.05 million in early 2025. For many households, those numbers are staggering, especially when paychecks come from jobs in education, healthcare, retail, or public service. Even if income sources are steady, the gap between earnings and housing costs makes ownership look more like a luxury than a step toward financial security. This widening affordability gap hits working families in ways both practical and cultural. Communities that were once built through generations now see local residents edged out by buying power from elsewhere. Young adults who expect to set down roots are locked instead into extended rentals or multi-generational living arrangements. The symbolism of homeownership as a connection to family and land begins to unravel when the numbers put homes beyond their reach. The drivers behind these extreme prices are layered but consistent. Hawaii's geography limits what land can be developed. A significant share of land is either conservation protected, ecologically fragile, or reserved for military use. Zoning adds another restraint, as much of what remains is locked into low-density, single-family classifications that restrict new housing supply. Together, these forces keep development slow, limited, and often more expensive than markets with flexible zoning and plentiful land. The result is predictable: too few homes for too many households, and every shortage translates into higher prices. The role of out-of-state and foreign buying magnifies these pressures. On the neighbor islands, more than 40% of home purchases in recent years have been attributed to buyers from outside Hawaii. Many of these purchases are not aimed at creating permanent homes. They become vacation properties, investment holdings, or short-term rentals that sit empty much of the year. For local families struggling to compete, that level of external demand transforms the real estate landscape. Each sale to an outside buyer pushes comparable prices higher and puts permanent local residents at a further disadvantage. These housing dynamics ripple into rents as well. As property values rise, owners increase rents to cover costs tied to taxes, insurance, and upkeep. For renters, this means monthly payments that rival or even exceed what a mortgage would cost in other states. Many households spend more than a third or even half of their income on rent. That makes saving for a down payment nearly impossible. Without intergenerational support or wealth from outside, young families find themselves in a cycle of renting without an exit path to ownership. The pattern erodes long-term community stability as transient renters replace rooted households. Even those who manage to buy often take on perilously high financial risk. Stretching to meet mortgage payments means allocating most of a paycheck to housing, leaving little for emergencies or savings. With the perpetual possibility of job loss, medical expenses, or cost spikes, many owners live on the edge of instability. Meanwhile, the starter home class of properties, once the entry point for young buyers, has nearly vanished. Modest homes often draw competitive bidding that pushes prices hundreds of thousands above asking, shutting out first-time buyers before they can even compete. For workers across essential fields, firefighters, teachers, nurses, farmers, the crisis feels especially personal. They provide the backbone of society, but often cannot afford to live near where they work. Commutes lengthen as they move farther from employment centers to reach relatively cheaper areas. On Oahu, that means driving west into Kapolei and beyond. On Maui, it means crowding into limited rental stock near Kahului. On Hawaii Island, infrastructure gaps concentrate demand in a handful of towns, driving up their prices too. In every case, community workers bear disproportionate strain from a distorted market they did not create. The human toll also shows in cultural and generational terms. Among Native Hawaiians in particular, land represents ancestry, responsibility, and cultural continuity. When local families lose access to ownership in the places where their lineage runs deep, the impact goes beyond economics. Watching ancestral spaces pass into the hands of outside owners intensifies feelings of displacement that stretch back centuries. The housing crisis thus intersects directly with cultural survival, making affordability disputes inseparable from historical wounds. Homelessness emerges at the most visible edge of this crisis. Not every family priced out of ownership ends up unsheltered, but more households tumble into precarious housing situations. Couch surfing, extended family overcrowding, and unstable rentals increasingly define life for a portion of the population. For those with fewer resources, the end result is encampments in parks, on beaches, and along roadsides. With housing costs soaring, many simply cannot find any feasible option, even while employed full-time. It's important to note that wages in Hawaii are not universally depressed, but they rarely align with real costs. The state's median incomes remain lower than the national average, and large numbers of households fall into what researchers call the ALICE category: asset-limited, income-constrained, employed. They have jobs, sometimes even multiple jobs, but remain just one emergency away from losing financial stability. In a housing market as inflated as Hawaii's, ALICE households face steep odds to reach ownership and high risk of permanent displacement. Solutions have been proposed for years, yet the pace of change remains slow. Affordable housing projects inch forward, but approvals and construction lag behind surging demand. Regulations designed to protect natural beauty or preserve neighborhood character are important, but they also contribute to gridlock in supply. Even well-intentioned policies struggle to overcome a market shaped by geography, zoning restrictions, and heavy outside interest. Programs targeting affordability are meaningful but insufficient against $1 million median in the core housing market. By 2025, the crisis feels entrenched. Ownership in Hawaii increasingly resembles a privilege reserved for the wealthy, whether they are high-earning professionals within the state or newcomers with resources from somewhere else. Ordinary families, even those with two incomes, find themselves stretched thin or excluded entirely. At the same time, the cultural fabric shifts as more properties convert to vacation uses or transient rentals, leaving long-term residents with fewer options to live and raise children in the communities they love. This housing crisis does not exist in a vacuum. It connects directly to the broader forces that shape Hawaii's economic system. While residents face soaring real estate costs and wage pressures, another sector of the islands thrives, by attracting flows of money, energy, and people from outside. That sector is among the strongest reasons why demand for land and housing remains high, and why the balance of costs and benefits so often tilts away from local households. The power struggle of tourism. Tourism sits at the center of Hawaii's economy, both vital and deeply contested. It is widely described as the state's crown jewel because it draws millions of visitors each year, keeping planes full, hotels occupied, and restaurants busy. Visitors spend billions annually, supporting everything from tour operators to neighborhood shave ice shops. Without tourism, Hawaii's economic structure would look very different and far less stable. To give perspective, tourism directly, indirectly, and through induced effects makes up roughly a quarter of Hawaii's entire economy, with even higher shares on some islands. On Maui, for example, tourism contributes nearly 38% of total economic activity. That scale explains why the industry holds such grip over policy, investment, and community life. But this crown jewel cuts both ways. Every plane that lands brings more people into islands with finite infrastructure, fixed geography, and fragile ecosystems. The majority of visitors stay in concentrated areas like Waikiki, West Maui, or Kailua Kona, but their presence spreads far beyond those zones. Rental cars clog traffic during peak commute hours. Once quiet beaches fill before locals can leave work. Grocery store prices trend higher in resort-heavy corridors. What looks like thriving activity to outsiders can feel like displacement for residents, who navigate their daily routines through crowds shaped for someone else's vacation. The weight on infrastructure is impossible to miss. Public roads that already struggle from underfunding balloon with tour buses and rental fleets. Waste systems and water supplies strain to cover tourism demand layered on top of year-round residents. Even airports and harbors, which double as lifelines for locals, tilt operations heavily toward visitor throughput. State and county governments spend heavily to maintain capacity, but tax collections rarely equal costs. The shortfall leaves locals subsidizing the upkeep of systems pushed far beyond intent. Supporters of the industry point to jobs, and indeed, hospitality anchors employment in Hawaii. Hotels, shops, transport services, and restaurants offer tens of thousands of positions, yet behind those numbers lies a stark reality. Profits concentrate with outside corporations and investors. Many tourism jobs remain low-wage with limited upward mobility. A study showed tourism-related jobs had some of the lowest weekly wages in U.S. industry comparisons. This imbalance means that while visitor spending is astronomical, local workers often cycle between 2 or 3 part-time roles just to scrape by. Benefits like healthcare or retirement plans are inconsistent, and scheduling bends almost entirely to the rhythms of tourist arrivals rather than community needs. The result is an economy with limited ladders for advancement. Young adults see a narrow menu of options. Service industry employment comes quickly, but once hired, building beyond survival wages is difficult. Pursuing education or training while tied to irregular shifts proves nearly impossible, and the lack of expanding industries like tech or biotech forces many to adapt or leave. Tourism shapes not just paycheck sizes, but long-term opportunity, often corralling ambition into cycles of service. Communities near popular visitor hubs feel these dynamics most acutely. Sacred sites and cultural spaces double as promoted attractions. Events designed for community tradition become recast as entertainment. It creates tension over authenticity, the question of whether culture is being practiced or performed. Over time, this breeds fatigue and conflict, as residents wrestle with aspects of life represented to outsiders in ways that often miss their deeper meaning. Even attempts at management reflect these contradictions. Hawaii's destination management action plans, created to balance tourism with resident quality of life, have already drawn criticism for producing limited measurable outcomes, with audits noting a lack of clear results. The gap between stated vision and tangible change adds to frustration that officials struggle to manage the trade-offs. The situation plays out not only in wages and culture, but in household schedules. Many families find their lives dictated by the ebbs and flows of peak tourism season. Weekend work or holiday shifts conflict with school events or rest time. Seasonality carries risk as well. A global event like a recession or a pandemic, or simply disruptions in the airline industry, can slash visitor numbers quickly. For households tied to tourism paychecks, that means sudden loss of income. This volatility magnifies the already precarious dynamic, where survival depends on an external flow of arrivals that locals cannot control. Tourists themselves largely remain unaware of this complexity. From their vantage point, they are contributing, stimulating the economy, and engaging respectfully. They may leave with glowing memories and photos of luau's or hikes, but the structural divide persists. Their spending rarely bridges the gap between corporate profits abroad and local workers living in overcrowded apartments to keep rent manageable. That contrast, paradise for the guest, strain for the host, rarely appears in brochures or travel guides. Attempts to diversify Hawaii's economy drag beneath tourism's shadow. Growing renewable energy, agriculture, or specialized industries provide glimpses of alternatives, but none yet approach tourism's gravitational pull. State leaders walk a fine balance, cutting tourism volume risks budget shortfalls, yet sustaining current patterns deepens displacement and inequality. Tourism not only dominates resources, but politics as well, as lobbying power ensures its interests maintain priority even amid calls for reform. None of this erases the reality that tourism pays for crucial public services. Taxes supporting schools, healthcare facilities, and infrastructure often trace directly back to visitor dollars. Sharing the island's natural beauty can bring pride, education, and cross-cultural connection when managed responsibly. But the dual truths sit side by side. Visitors experience luxury and ease, hosts navigate costs and inequities. The system generates wealth, yet that wealth largely bypasses those who make the system function. So the paradox is stark, an economy stabilized by outsiders, yet marked by instability for those inside it. Every successful marketing campaign that promises paradise requires thousands of locals to work unpredictable shifts, bear heavy commutes, and accept wages that rarely match the cost of life around them. It is the heartbeat of the state's finances, and simultaneously, its most unequal bargain. The question becomes unavoidable. So who really benefits from the tourist boom, locals or outside investors? And beneath that question lies another layer of pressure residents face that visitors rarely see, one that touches not travel or leisure, but something far more personal: the ability to access care when they need it most.